Hey folks, Quill18 here, and welcome to another EVE Online tutorial for complete beginners. And in this episode, we are going to do an overview of the overview. The overview over here is really the sun glare is a little too bright. There we go. It's really, it's your eyes and ears on the system that's around you. This will let you know all the objects that are nearby, filtered by a variety of different settings. I believe by default in the game here, actually what I could do is I could reset it, and I will. I'm going to go into this little menu, overview settings, I'm going to miscellaneous, I'm going to reset my overview settings. Boom, there we go. Alright, so when you start the game, brand new account, this is what your overview looks like. You have a general tab, a mining tab, and a warp 2 tab. So general's got a bunch of stuff, including other ships around it, so we can see these are other ships here. The green ones are people that are in the same newbie corporation as I am. We got containers, we got star bases over here, we've got star gates, jump gates over here, all kinds of stuff. Mining will list everything that's mineable. It will list asteroid belts if the system has some. If you're in an asteroid belt, it'll list asteroids, and it can also list some containers and things like that because it's relevant to mining sometimes. And the warp 2 tab, this is everything in your current system that you can warp to. And we did do a little thing where we added a tab and put a loot tab as sort of a very basic intro to overview. I think, was it in episode 4? Something like that. But here's the thing. The overview can be much more powerful than it is right out of the box. Incredibly useful, filtered to all kinds of different relevant things to give you all the information you need at a second's notice. You can go and tune each one of these tabs manually, right? We can go hit this, go to overview settings. These are a list of tabs. We got the tab presets as well. So in the general tab, we can see, oh, I would like, ooh, there's a criminal here in a capsule. Interesting. We'd be like, oh, I would like to see combat drones and listen, you're not going to tweak this by hand. I mean, you can, and you will. You probably will make some adjustments at some point in your career, and it's going to be great and lovely, but for now, we're not going to do that. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to miscellaneous. I'm going to reset my overview settings again. Boom. Go back to the vanilla settings over here, the 3 tabs. I haven't messed with anything. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to import a series of preset tabs that the community has made and developed over time that is just absolutely freaking wonderful. It's what you want to do, and it's called the people probably say ZS overview. I of course say ZS because Z. Anyway, and it's a series of tabs that are already made. Now, there's a bunch of different ways to load this into your game. You can go into your settings and like folder on your computer and do some things there, but that's not the way we're going to do it. It's actually very convenient for us to import these really good settings, and for this, we're going to need the chat window. So here's the chat window over here. You're always in the local chat, which is the chat for the system that you're currently in. You'll always be in your corporation chat, whatever your corporation might be. I am still in the newbie corporation with this account. Also, by default, you get included into the rookie help channel here, which I'm going to go ahead and close at this point because we're not going to need it. Oh, I got credited, I think, some bounty from the last video here. We're going to go and join a new chat channel. So I'm going to hit this plus, and it's going to ask me, hey, what kind of chat channel would I like to use? And there's some already out there pre-categorized. Very handy, by the way, to find some useful things. But I am specifically going to join the Z-S space overview channel. Okay? Z-S space overview. I don't think it's case sensitive, and I'm going to join this. Now, this is a funky little channel. A lot of people in here, people aren't here to talk. Instead, every channel can have a message of the day in here that's like, you're welcome to the channel. And this gets you all set up with a fancy overview. So here's what you're going to want to do. Step by step. Step 1, go into your overview settings. Now, we've already done this, but I'll do it anyway. Overview settings. Go to the miscellaneous tab right over here and hit reset all overview settings just to make sure you've got a proper blank slate over here. All right, we have done that. Step 3, click core pack, then any additional packs you want. So down here, you see it says core. We're going to click this. Say, are you sure you want to load this overview profile? Yes. Now, nothing will change. Well, some things will change a little bit, but mostly the screen is going to break a little bit over here. ZS Core loaded. Next step, either apply another preset pack or apply a layout to finish. So there's other presets over here. We've got the core. We've got a few others that we can do. I'm going to go ahead and load the DScan extended by clicking on that. Okay, done. Then how about a couple of PvP or PV blank categories? PVX. You don't need these, but I'm going to do this anyway. PVX2, so X is a placeholder for either PvE or PvP. That is, PvE stands for player versus environment, but it means killing like non-player character stuff versus PvP. These are pre-made targeting filters, so you can target by ship type. We're going to ignore those. You can do whatever you want. And then we have to click one of these layouts over here. They come in 4 flavors, 2 standards, 2 compact, and either 2 lines or 1 line. Now, these are for how many bracket lines. Brackets are what happens when you've got something in space here, and you see it's got text. That's your bracket over here. And we're just going to try to decide, do we want everything on 1 line or 2? I'm going to go standard 2-line brackets. So I'm going to click this, and now all the magic is going to happen. Thump. Excellent. Okay, now we're done with this. I can close it, I can leave it, I can do whatever. If I don't like this layout, I can click on another layout whenever I want. I can also add another pack if I want. And of course, I can start the whole thing over by resetting my tabs once again. Let's go ahead and bring this down and look at an overview over here. So the layout has given us, by default, 6 different tabs, and they are color-coded. They got cool little symbols. We got this little one with an airplane. This is our default travel tab. This is everywhere we might want to travel to. And it's got a little note in here. It's saying, listen, we're not including ships, but we are including stations. So you can see my travel tab. I've got 3 stations. I've got stargates. I've got the sun itself. I've got a beacon for something. I think this is just an agent for some of the quest lines in here. But there you go. We've got that. There's also this warp out tab, which again lists absolutely everything that you can warp to. Very handy to have as reference if you need to get the heck out of something. We've got a combat tab over here. And again, by default, it's set up to, this is what they're calling their filter. PVX Basics, includes neutrals and includes NPCs. A targets tab, which is just, this is listing all the drones. Honestly, I don't think this is particularly required for us, but it is available here if we want to be able to just quickly see a list of drones to maybe shoot them down first, to cut down someone else's drones, to thin them out. Little miscellaneous tab over here. You can see here what this filter is currently set to. Salvage and loot. Hey, salvage and loot sounds pretty good. It's also including some ships on here. Anyone who might be friendly, and that. Now, I don't necessarily need, you know what? I don't need this friendly tab. I'm going to right click it. And I'm just going to delete this tab. Boom. There we go. I don't need that. Excellent. Oh, what if I change my mind? Okay, I'll add a tab again. I'll be like friendly. But then how do I set this to once again be the list of friends? Well, if I right click on this, you can see load presets to tabs. This is where all those names you were seeing. See the PVX and everything like that? This here, this is really what we imported. All these different preset filters. So I've called this tab friendly. So friendly all, you know what? Friendly fleet. This will just load a list of people in my fleet. It also, as a bonus, is deciding to include in these stargates. Okay, that's fine. What if we wanted to tune this a little bit more? Well, again, we're going to go into the overview, open overview settings. We go to the tab presets. So right now, we've got friendly selected, right? If we go to warp out, here's the tab is called Pod Saver. Friendly tab is set to this friendly filter, and we can see in here, okay, celestials. Oh yeah, it's including effect beacons, it's including stargates and the sun. What if my friendly tab, I'm like, you know what? I really just want this to show me people in my actual fleet. I'm going to say, don't show me stargates. Oh, there we go. Don't show me the sun either. Psh, maybe we'll leave some of these others in here. Sure, why not? But you can see ships, 44, 46. These are all selected over here. Excellent, wonderful. And if we look at states, this is what determines whether we see someone. So visible versus not visible. You can see not visible is set for everything except for pilots in our fleet. This is what this friendly tab is set to. Oh, okay. Did I make a useful tab? Not really here. I'm just demonstrating things. I'm actually going to go ahead and delete this again because I don't care that much. But this is very handy. What I might want to do is have a specific tab for mining though. Hey, that sounds kind of useful. I'll have a mining tab over here. I'm going to say load presets to tabs and PVX mining all. There you go, right over here. So this is going to list everything that might be relevant to you when mining. This will include, if we were in a system, let me go and quickly, there you go, switch to the travel tab. Let me pop over to Violet, because I know Violet's always got some asteroid belts. I'm just going to go ahead and jump there, and the mining tab should be better. Also, I'm sitting outside of a major station right now. There's always going to be a ton of ships over here. As soon as we warp out of this area, this view here won't be quite as noisy. But you can see there's some excellent color coding in there as well. There you go. It's already less noisy because I'm warping away here. There's lots of color coding so that you can very quickly, at a glance, see what the heck is going on. I'm going to keep this a little wider. There you go. Something like that. for now. That's going to be pretty good. Okay, let's go to Violet, because that should give us... should be a little less noisy and also have some more stuff. There we go. So the mining tab is selected over here, and it's listing there are some ships nearby, right? And then these NPC sentry guns, and then down here all the asteroid belts. And if I were to just warp to a random asteroid belt over here, again, very useful view. The ZS overview is really not, you should not underestimate how handy this is as a way to organize your stuff. So much better. I like the color coding and a lot of the presets. And you might want to make sure, like, there's no harm done in going and signing up for all these packs. These packs here, all they do is add extra things to this list over here. The presets, it adds extra things over here. It doesn't make a bunch of new tabs. It's the layouts that actually set up your tabs, and then you can tune them as much as you want. So there you go. So here we're on the mining tab. Again, I can see all the asteroids, great. And it also does include enemies. There's an enemy over here, because you kind of want to know if there's an enemy nearby you when you're mining. But again, you can filter this on and off all you want. Tell you what, I will, I'm going to launch my drones. And I'm going to switch to the Combats tab. Hey, there we go. Combat's very handy. Target this guy. And as soon as he's targeted, I'm going to hit F, which is the hotkey for engage targets. I forgot to mention that in the last video, actually. F is your hotkey by default to send your drones out to someone. There you go. They'll go and blow that guy up. We'll get a little bit of ISK as our next bounty. How convenient. But there you go. And then I can go back to the mining tab and do that. Again, enemies will show up on here. It is sorted by distance by default, so if the enemy's further away, it won't necessarily show up before the asteroids. But hey, that's pretty nifty. I've got plenty of time in this video, so I'm going to be doubling up. We've done a little bit of overview work over here. This ZS overview thing, yeah. We're going to go ahead and drop out of that chat channel, because we don't need that. Okay, that was weird. I don't know why it came back. We're going to drop out of that channel, and we're going to look at another really useful user interface thing to give you a better sense of the world. Now, we are, we're looking at things. We've got some things that show up. These are, by the way, are called brackets. And the other thing that these overview do, if you go to overview tabs, they've got different setups for brackets over here. And this will determine what you see in space. So right now I'm on this first travel tab over here, and the brackets it's showing are combat targets. Combat targets and friendlies and drones will show up. If I change this to, say, the second one, the same thing but don't show me drones, notice my drones aren't visible anymore. So depending on how much visual noise is going on, you may want to tune that. There's a bunch of, well, this is the same list of presets in, like, all the presets, but you're going to want to choose from this brackets list. You can change it to all as well. This will show you brackets for absolutely everything. For example, hey, there's a wreck over there. That's what that is. You might want them set to all. You might want it filtered to something else. I don't know. Leaving it on the combat here. Here, I'll do the same thing with the mining, like that. Seems pretty handy to do that. Right. So brackets. Again, I've made a case a few times that you're going to spend most of your time looking at the overview rather than trying to sort of visually spot things over here. That being said, there are plenty of times when you would really like a good visual sense of what's going on around you. Where are things positioned? How can I maneuver around things and whatnot? If we were in a site with enemies, and there's a bunch of enemies over here. Actually, there's another ship over here. There's a Venture that's mining. It's like, and you can see clusters of enemies and maybe want to maneuver around. I did downplay manual piloting before, which technically you can do in first-person view with the arrow keys. That's not very useful. But the other thing that is useful is just double-clicking a point in space. And look at this, my ship will turn and will fly in that direction. That can be useful, especially if you do have sort of a visual sense as to where people are, but it's not the easiest to do in space until you hit this magic button over here. Right next to, our little capacitor overlay, there's a button here, tactical overlay. If we hit this button, boom. Now, I haven't wanted to do it yet because it did add a lot of extra visual stuff that might be overwhelming. But it is a really handy tool. I find myself turning it on and off depending on what situation I'm in and what I want to see. What's the deal here? Well, this overlay is centered on our ship. There's us. And you get a series of circles. This is range, 5 kilometers, 10, 20, all the way out to 200 kilometers away. So right away we can get a quick sense. Hey, how far away is this Venture over here? Well, it's just beyond 20 kilometers. And yeah, if we mouse over it, 24 kilometers. If we find it in the list of combat targets, there it is over there, 24 kilometers. Excellent. But we get a sense right away of how far away everything is. Okay, that's useful. What's this blue line? This blue line is my destination. Well, I don't have a destination. I'm just moving in this direction. So we've got that. But let's say I went and clicked on this asteroid over here and said approach. You'll see a little change. There we go. The blue line is my destination way over there. And you see this little arrow? This is the direction I'm actually moving in. You can see my ship is turning, and as it turns, this arrow will align to the blue line because I am currently moving towards this target. Hey, that's pretty nifty. Okay, so again, we get a reminder, okay, where everything is, where are we going? Excellent. Anything else we can do with this? Yeah, sure. I can right-click over here. I'm going to stay away from this guy to not scare him. Let's say I orbit at 5,000 meters. Oh, another ship just came in. We can see their direction as well. Look at this. Orbit. We get a little circle. It's going to give us a preview of our orbit distance. Now, this is only available with the overlay. But damn, that's pretty cool. And again, with this guy, we can see him moving. Is it Atron? Oh, he's going to jump away. All right. I really think this is quite spiffy. What else? Oh, this dashed line. See this red line over here? This is the limit of our targeting. We can target anything within this. So if I control click, there you go. I will target this asteroid. If there was something outside of this dashed line, I would not be able to target it. So I'll untarget this asteroid just because I don't want that cluttered up. What else is there? Well, I've got weapons down here. If I mouse over my guns, see this little red circle that appears around me? This is the range of my gun. Right now, this is a blaster, super short range, as we can see over here. This range display is quite useful if you have particularly long range guns, because again, then you can do a lot of positioning. It's like, oh, let's say my range was 20 kilometers. I could see that. I want to keep things just within this range and not. Well, here's the range of my salvager. You can see that. And now these guys don't have range. So you get a lot of this kind of info. I think this view is wonderful. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to fly straight down. Ish. There we go. So I'm flying down relative to the plane. This is aligned with like the plane of the solar system. If I do this, there we go. You can see this little arc and thing going on. What's going on? Let me stop. Again, you can control spacebar for it as well to stop. What's the deal? What is going on with this arc? Well, here's the asteroid I actually have selected, right? It's up here, it's selected, right? I've moved down, so it makes sense that it's above me. The arc to here shows me how far away it is on this plane. This means, because at a ballpark figure, if I was just to look at this guy, if it wasn't selected, if I didn't see 13 kilometers, how far is this asteroid from me? Well, it's hard to see because it's at an angle. I don't know. But what it does, it projects it down onto our flat plane so I can see, oh, it's somewhere between 10 and 20 kilometers away. Yeah, it's 13 kilometers. So that's what this display. This is where it actually is, but this is effectively showing me how far away it is. Same thing with this guy over here. This Venture is above my current plane, but it's about that far away. So 20 and change away over here. Really nice little visual hint, which is handy dandy. As a note, we are on orbit camera over here, so we are orbiting around ourselves. We can also switch to the tactical camera. What it does is it just makes it so that instead of orbiting around ourselves, we can actually pan around. If you want to take a bit of a look, you can do this. You're still at the center of this little display. I don't find myself doing this that often. I mostly keep myself on orbit camera, and I just zoom out, and like, I don't need to pan over here. I'll either zoom out so I can see it, or it's, not terribly relevant at that point. But you can do that. Anyway, tactical overlay. Pretty cool, very useful, and yeah, it gives you tons of information in combat, again, with like, you can see everyone's relative direction and things like that. Really spiffy do. The other thing that this layout did for us when we imported, it did add columns for a few extra bits of data. Velocity, transversal velocity, angular velocity. Velocity is how fast it's moving relative to zero. I mean, obviously, in space, there's no such thing as zero velocity and things like that, blah, blah, blah. But in video games, there is. So this actually, this is not an asteroid. This is the other ship. It's just standing still. Transversal velocity is what I talked about like lateral velocity and things. This is how fast it's moving relative to me sideways. Let's say I turn to move directly towards this Venture. Hopefully I'm not going to make him nervous. I'm not going to target him because it would sort of show up here. If I'm moving directly towards him, my transversal velocity, again, this is sort of sideways movement to him, drops to nothing. And this is one of the things that affects accuracy in combat. If we're not moving sideways relative to each other, then it's very easy to hit because we just shoot towards the other person and the bullet will hit. Whereas if we're moving sideways relative to each other, say I orbit at my current range over here, there we go. So what's going to happen, I'm going to start orbiting in this circle. I'm not moving towards him at all. All my movement, all my speed here, my velocity, is all basically going to be sideways relative to this guy. So as we kick in to this orbit, There you go. The transversal velocity kicks up, and it'll be pretty close to my actual velocity. So right now we're moving sideways relative to one another over here, which is going to be more dodgy, and tends to be the sort of thing you want to look at in combat over here. Wow, a lot of traffic at this asteroid belt. One of the things I like about the the tactile overlay here is I find it gives you a much better senses to the action that's happening around you. Very cool. Anyway, this is a bit of a shorter video, and I know that it was a little light on the action, but these two things, while again, I thought a little too intimidating to tackle first episode, you do not want to live without an improved overview. There are other preset overviews out there. Eve University's got one and things like that. This one here, the ZS overview, is probably by far the most popular set of overview presets for you. And you can see it's quite handy. You don't have to be an expert player to appreciate, like, oh, this is pretty convenient. You know, the updated combat list, the color coding, so many little things. This overview also included overview presets for your directional scanner as well, which actually I forgot to mention, because I did import the directional scanner extended list over here. So by default, it includes a lot of things in this list, but what you probably want to do is scroll down, and either you are going to be using D-Scan offensively. You're trying to hunt people down, or you're using D-Scan defensively to try to avoid people. So they got pre-mades for this, the offensive one with or without drones, and the defensive one over here. If I click on that, you'll see this D-Scan filter changes a lot, and if I do a little scan here, so it's just gonna filter out things that I might be. It'll just show me things I might want to worry about. So various structures and ships and things like that. So you can tune that prefab, and it helps make the directional scanner less noisy and more useful, which is really, really good. Anyway, that is it. Before I warp away, I'm going to get into the good habit of hitting Control R, Shift R, reload weapons, but most importantly, recall my drones. In case I had any drones out, I don't want to leave them behind. And then I'm going to go ahead and warp back home. Again, I'm going to go to my assets thing. I'm just going to go over to the Dixie, most likely. And yeah, that's that. Folks, thanks for watching. Again, questions, really appreciated. Ideas for topics that you want to look at, really, really appreciated. We'll talk about more things next time. Thanks for watching. See you then.